Man, Ace Attorney sure is boring at this point. I mean, look at this. We had 4 games all centered around this ridiculous kangaroo court. I am sick and tired of being stuck inside a building. How about a true revolution of the series? How about the option of going outside and touching grass? Genius! Did you get sick of staring at yellow and orange backgrounds for the next 5 hours? Well, look no further than Ace Attorney Investigations. Miles Edgeworth, the spin-off game that takes the formula of your traditional, Ace Attorney game and turns it upside down. For the first time since the Big Bang explosion, you can now see your character walk. And that means you get to walk in specific zones, investigate specific areas, and what felt like actual levels instead of just basic ass 2D images. No longer are you restrained by the arbitrary ass rules the courtroom imposed. You can talk about anything in this game as long as there is some relation to the case at hand. Did you love the witness testimony? Well, even better. How about witness testimonies, but it's at the crime scene this time? Confrontations were a neat idea on paper, even if they were just witness testimonies reskinned to fit the game. But that's not all. This game introduces new and exciting game mechanics that will make you think even more about how each crime in each case is set up in the form of logic and deduction. Logic being all about taking pieces of verifiable information, connect set pieces of info, and draw conclusions to further strengthen our theories and arguments. Deduction is such an amazing mechanic. The way it's used is very simple. If you find a contradiction at the crime scene, you can deduce it by selecting the correct piece of evidence that solves said contradiction. And with 5 brand new cases to play through, this game was pretty much set to become the best Ace Attorney game and the future of Ace Attorney after Apollo Justice Ace Attorney failing to reinvent the wheel a little bit. Sure, the series creator Shu Takumi was not the director nor the writer for this game because he was busy making some bullshit that he dreamt one night while in a coma. Instead, it's Takeshi Yamazaki. I mean, this dude has been with the series for a while, so I'm sure everything will be fine. So it all begs the question, why does this game suck ass? I don't understand. They had it in the bag. This could have been something great, and yet they fumbled it so bad to the point they didn't even localize the sequel. Well, okay, I don't think that's the reason, but nobody cares about this game! I don't think the ideas the game presents are the problem. Rather, the problem is that this game is poorly written in terms of everything. The cases are extremely mediocre, with some being the worst in the entire series up until, this point. The main plot is whatever, just some random bullshit happening with the smuggling rig at the great thief Yatagarasu. Who is this? This is the biggest case of missed potential I have ever seen in my life. And we are about to go into these cases to highlight Yamazaki's lack of case writing abilities, and how that one thing never got addressed in his following games, but they have themes. So that means they're the best to ever do it. This is Ace Attorney Investigations Miles Edgeworth, and why it sucks. But hey, you know what? Not everything is doom and gloom, because I think Turnabout Visitor is actually Yamazaki's hidden gem of a case. This is probably the most straightforward and clearest case from him that I have ever played. Like, I was actually following what the case was doing without being confused, or without it feeling like, it's playing like dog shit, at least once. All the pieces of evidence are found by simply looking around the area and inspecting everything. No wild theories treated facts, actually a pleasant case to play through. It's not unbearably long as well, it's only an hour long. The way this case introduces the core mechanics is sublime, especially deduction. The way the case progresses makes sense to me. Like, yeah, sure, Gumshoe being a suspect is like whatever, because the victim writing the killer name is already an overdone idea that at this point is also tiring to trudge through. But all that stuff with Maggie Bird, that looks legit to me, and more interesting as well. I like the theory of Jacques tricking Maggie into unlocking Edgeworth's door by changing the number plates on the doors, which is noted by us as being a very easy thing to do. And the fact that he moved the basketball net, okay, what the fuck, that's kinda crazy, a whole ass basketball net inside a building? And it's very clear it was moved as well. The idea of the first case done in this format taking place inside Edgeworth's office is actually perfect. Since we play as Miles Edgeworth this time around, this is actually a perfect setup. I think the only problem I can think of is the fact that this is still a tutorial case, so the nature of the case itself is going to be rather basic, which makes sense. I need a little case to introduce the players to this type of gameplay. That's all fun and stuff, but that's all it has going for it. It's only downhill from now on. Turnabout Airlines is a case where a murder happened inside an airplane. A fucking giant one at that, what the hell? This case has a major problem that really pisses me off, and it's the fact that we assume the murder weapon to be the piggy bank for like the entire case, mind you. That's really dumb. Such a gruesome scene. I bet this stick of celery was the murder weapon. And it gets worse because at one point Edgeworth, despite him being the one who came up with the idea of assuming the weapon, keeps trying to say that, no, that's not the real weapon. And this is where Franziska interjects by saying that you were stupid and dumb and stupid and skibbity, and continues with the piggy bank being the murder weapon shtick. When in reality this guy died due to gravity, due to being pushed off. And the way we figured that out is through Edgeworth observing how a fat guy fell down on the crate. This is just updated autopsy report, except it's much more catastrophic here, because everything that we have done up until this point has been meaningless and nothing but a waste of time. Why is the case designed like this? Obviously there's also other dumb stuff, like how can you be so sure the money and the pennies that are at the crime scene originated from the travel wallet? Other than that, I like the idea of investigating an extensive airplane. Zing LeBlanc and his way of speaking English in a very broken way is very funny. Him and his obsession with not wasting time makes him very based in my book. You can bet 1,000,000 cents on that. Rhoda Tenero is an alright character. I like that the game tries very hard to make her guilty as fuck, that's fun. Her buying her own suitcases she designed because, the suitcases were not selling at all adds a lot to her character to make her feel more human, even though the idea of selling suitcases inside the airplane in the first place is extremely stupid and I don't know whose idea was it. Cammy Meal, the culprit, is pretty bland. She doesn't really do much in this case, aside from falling asleep like a rock every single time. She has an interesting attire, but that's really it about her. Her confrontations are whatever. She doesn't even get the courtesy of having a testimony where Presto plays in the background. Instead it plays when Edgeworth and Franziska play with Bluetooth phone capabilities. Oh, okay man. I don't even understand Edgeworth's final point here, where the killer used the Burgundian cloth to clean up the blood because someone fluent in Burgundian would go for that first. Wait, why couldn't it be possible that the killer would desperately check the packages and hope of something to clean the blood with? Why does the killer necessarily need to know how to speak Burgundian? If that's the case, why is Zing LeBlanc not considered a suspect at all in this case? And also, why couldn't it be just a coincidence that the killer used a Burgundian cloth to clean up the blood? And why did Edgeworth even trust Cammy's testimony about the victim? The flight attendants who had more access to movement in the airplane should be treated as suspects, methinks. This is a bad case of Edgeworth is fucking stupid, man. This case is mid. Okay, listen, it's not the worst thing in terms of mediocrity, but it's a very unmemorable case overall. Most people that remember this case only remember two things about it: the introduction of two characters, a bad one and a good one. Sheila Lang is a great rival and rose to one of my favorite characters in the entire series. Sure, this game doesn't do a whole lot with Lang, but the little it does is more than enough for me. He's an Interpol agent that is set on tracking down members of the smuggling ring because his home country, Zhangfa, got fucked over by fake money. He also fucking hates prosecutors because his family's name got laughed at because a random prosecutor fucked around with some evidence the Lang family found like legit. I like this backstory, pretty short and to the point. And that's not all. He's quite badass in his own ways and extremely caring and polite to his subordinates. He tries his very best to set an example to everyone to follow, and that's what makes him a great leader as well. Sure, the way he conducts his investigations is quite unorthodox, but I'm not complaining, it leads to more gameplay. And I like gameplay. This is the only character you're gonna clash with for the rest of the game, and by rest of the game I meant only two cases, featuring a cameo in case 4. Well, Charlie is gonna get more use in the sequel. The only major case he is in is during case 5 and a quick cameo during case 2. Well fuck, give my boy material to work with, damn it. And then we finally have Kay Faraday. I don't like Kay Faraday, she sucks. Okay, truth be told, she's much more involved in this game than the sequel, so it's not complete trash. But my god, did we really need a dumb female assistant to, fulfill a quota? Did Edgeworth need, a teenager girl to stick by his side when he already has everyone's favorite teenage girl, Dick Gumshoe? You can tell Dick Gumshoe and Miles Edgeworth had some chemistry, even if their entire relationship gives off co-worker vibes. A pretty one-sided relationship at that. I don't like the many mean things Miles says to Gumshoe, and I don't like Gumshoe glazing Miles and dismissing his rather mean-spirited attitude towards him. Contrast that with Kay, where she tries too hard to be like Maya Fey, But for Edgeworth, these guys have no consistency at all. Edgeworth doesn't even enjoy being around Kay most of the time because he feels like he's babysitting someone, and he was already babysitting a big dick. Gumshoe. Also, her gimmick is annoying, and the only thing she brings is little teeth, which just makes investigations a bit more interesting, although I don't see the point, especially when most of what we're seeing in these simulations are based on testimony, which becomes more of a sticking point in case 5. It's fine enough here. You know, I've been talking about 2 characters this entire time. I haven't even discussed the case. That's because the case is wherever. I don't think it's bad, but it's not memorable, and while I think the start of the case is strong and the middle section is not bad, it falls off rather hard during the latter portion to the point where I feel like it was just rushed. I sure do love when Edgeworth talks about his theories as if they're true facts. I love when these guys think someone using a pistol with their non-dominant hand is difficult. It's not. I love when Lank confronted Miles on why he didn't hear the gunshot at the haunted house. His response is that there were a lot of sound effects, and that meant it must have blended in. What do you mean it blended in? It's a gunshot shot. It's not tied to some dumbass speaker. Honestly, I don't even get how Edgeworth came to the conclusion Lance Amano was the culprit. He just said that because he felt like it. And while this section does have some cool moments, like that one Lank testimony that doesn't even talk about anything that happened that day. It's about how 2 people have been planning this kidnapping for a while and shit like that. Like, I wish I got more discussions like that. Like, that's fun, that's interesting, but the game doesn't commit. Ernest Amano's entire character is just him going, Muson, and staring at his fat stacks of money. Lauren Pops is contemplating whether to be a loyal girlfriend or to cheat on her boyfriend. The dilemma of all time that every girl suffers. Lance Amano barely shows up in this case, despite the, him being the, the big deal. He shows up almost passed out and then gets his shit rocked during the latter portion where he straight up confesses his shit on 2 separate occasions. Wow, game, thanks for making this shit way less fun for me. And based on the plot of the game, this guy's fucking irrelevant because Ernest Amano is the big dog. All this dude accomplishes is create a fake kidnapping to which he confesses he kidnapped himself anyway because he was irresponsible with money and oh shit to tender lender, oh fuck. Colin Devore was for some reason fighting for relevancy in the plot, and they tried to have this moment where Lauren didn't know the victim was actually her dad, but I don't know, he like nothing. And I don't get how come she is innocent? Like, yeah, she didn't kill anybody, but she helped with the fake kidnapping. And she gets off scot-free? Hello? But no worries, there were also other characters in this case, such as the fan favorite, Mike Meekins. Sure, Wendy Allback. All I found was my best friend dead in the ditch. And lastly, Emma Sky. She does fuck all in this case. Actual waste of space, man. The idea of a theme park, is cute, but it feels extremely small in scope. Like, I feel like investigating a crime inside a theme park should have been more exciting than this. Instead, the focus is on the Blue Badger and his lore. Oh man, I sure did enjoy dissecting this frame by frame. This is such a strange ass case to me. It feels directionless. It just feels like everything that happened came and went. Like this was a roller coaster ride without a roller coaster ride. I mean, it's better than case 2, I'll say that much. We don't assume the murder weapon, first of all. Which means it can only go up from here, right? Right? So we are back yet again in time. This time, 7 years in the past. What is this franchise's obsession with the number 7? Anyways, this case takes place when Edgeworth was a meme head, except he doesn't really act like an asshole all the time like how I want him to act. And he still sticks to him finding the truth even though that shit came way later. And he's accompanied by a 13-year-old Franziska von Karma, who I believe should make this an impossible case to happen because didn't Miles sort of, abandon Franziska in a way or whatever? Like, wasn't there some kind of subtext about that? Actually, who cares? As long as the case is good, that's all that matters at this point. There is no God. This is probably one of the worst cases ever made in this series. Nothing matters in this case. The mystery writing is abysmal. It had a strong start for about a testimony, then it went downhill from there. Franziska brought the ass argument into play, being the distance between the victims. All Mackerel had to do is close the distance. Why does it matter? They also still go with the guy who can't shoot gun with non-dominant hand. At this point, this says more about Yamazaki's worldview, if anything. And why does a third party have to exist in this case again? Edgeworth hasn't done anything in particular to prove why we should pursue this line of logic. Then here comes the fucking motive. I swear to God, please, no more motive, I beg of you. So Gumshoe's motive for this crime is that he got scolded by the victim for doing a shit job. That's not a motive, that's just discipline. And when this segment is finally over, fuck you, here comes the talk options. We gotta get the lore out of the way, man. Alright, sure, let's get the lore out of the way. So why, dear viewer, I ask you very nicely, in the very next scene, we have another set of talk options that go on for forever. You had a scene earlier just for this. Apparently, it wasn't enough. Fucking gatekeeper, get out! Alright, so what now? Well, how about we accuse the guy behind the L-6 incident ripoff? Wait, what do you mean he cannot be the killer to this double homicide? Well, I don't know. How about we investigate the mystery behind Gumshoe's Yummy Munchers activity at the time? They didn't even get that part right. And even then, this was forced as hell because the problem is you cannot verify half of the stuff they said. Their conclusion makes zero sense. Want to see something that blew my mind? So we have a piece of logic right here, and that is described as a pink rubber trash. And then we have a piece of logic from the cactus right next to it. Guess what happens next? The answer will shock you. Why did they feel the need to do this? It's like we're making connections out of anything, man. I see a piece of trash, then into my logic. Oh, there's a trash can, into my logic. Wait a minute, this piece of trash belongs in this trash can. Oh yeah, we did it, folks. How does this motherfucker even know what that piece of rubber trash was a balloon? He said it himself that it was trash. Oh god, what else? So apparently Discord is ultra equipped with soundproof shit, meaning that the testimony we got from Gumshoe of how he didn't hear any signs of struggle is completely meaningless. Great, anything else? Yeah, so the gunshot Detective Bad and Callisto you heard was also fake, originating from the videotape. Cool, so we invalidated Bad, we invalidated Gumshoe, we invalidated everything, nothing actually mattered. We fucked around and found out for like 2.5 hours I was recording at this moment, which means that we don't know how these people died. There's no basis for anything. And then we have a final confrontation against Callisto, and look man, I have no idea why they keep going backwards instead of forwards. We don't even have a crime to be complicated. It somehow did. Stop wasting my time with nothing, game! Like honestly, we can go back to the victims died at the same time theory, because it wasn't even established then. That's how fucked this shit is. This entire case is designed around a dumb twist for whatever reason, and we're supposed to accept this? And another thing too, why does Miles recap like everything this case was about to Franziska? Go read this shit on your own, you stupid brat. Well, okay, the case is straight up garbage, but are the characters good? Tyrell bad. I actually like this guy, he is cool. Callisto, you more like Falisto, Ballisto, Talisto, New Jew, Pew, Do, Mew. Wait a minute, she's mewing? Her entire gimmick is laughter, which certainly doesn't get annoying real quick, no. The saving grace is that final moment where she points her gun at Edgeworth. Like that was kind of tough. Okay, not gonna lie. Okay, like okay, she was kind of slaying there. That's everything that was noteworthy. This case stinks like naphthalene. I don't want to see this shit ever again. Actually, wait, this is the case where Edgeworth gets kicked in his nuts. Never my best case ever made. It healed my depression. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the worst finale case ever made in this series. Up until this point, it cannot. It cannot be understated just how bad this case is. Like everything about it just doesn't work. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk positives! I think the setting the case takes place is pretty neat. I like the idea of investigating two embassies and their shady secrets. They're also visually distinct. I also like the butterfly and flower motifs for each embassy. It kind of feels like the cherry on top. Sheena is sexy. Quirkus Alba's design is actually superb. I adore the transition to this frail old man to this tough war veteran. Beautiful. Shilong Lang gets time to actually shine. It even sneaks in a badass moment with Sheena and Bad. Bad is still as cool as he was. Alright, that was all the positives I could come up with. Now onto the bad stuff, which is like the entire case. Let's start with the first segment. So we investigate the murder of Manny Kosher in Babal, and everything goes all fine and dandy. But I couldn't help but notice this pointless argument between Miles and Francisca where they argue whether the Yatagarasu key fits the second keyhole or not. And I'm just here sitting like, guys, you can end the debate by putting the fucking key in, for crying out loud. They didn't even do that. They had to get Gumshoe to do it for them. They couldn't be bothered. Jesus, 10 words won't do for these people when 100 suffice. First confrontation, we need to make Kay be less of a suspect than she currently is. And of course, my favorite 6-letter word had to show up, and that is motive. What's worse is that Sheena started this topic, and she's also the one who goes on to dismiss the motive talk. Why did you even mention the motive in the first place? This entire confrontation is just us jumping through so many loops just so we can make Kay innocent for whatever reason. There's still so many questions left, such as, why couldn't the knife be already here? Why did this knife have to get smuggled? Who swapped the knife handles? Where did the knife handle come from? We skipped through all of that because, we have this transnational bullshit happening in the background, by the way. Here we want this case to feel big in scope, even though it really doesn't. But what did this even accomplish? Because mind you, nobody gives a fuck about the plot of this game. Whatever, hopefully the next segment is better. What am I, stupid? So there was another murder happening in Alabast. This dimwit called Kashi No, I wonder what that's a pun on, who disguised himself as Mask the Mask and called himself Mask the Mask the Second for whatever reason. I want to remind everyone this important fact: they did not give me the autopsy report for this guy. God damn, they care so little about these murders. They didn't even give me an autopsy report. That's like the number one thing you give me, man. Or at least some notes about the crime, about the fucking dead body, man. Well, anyways, that was a big blunder. Surely it can get any worse. All back is back and Larry's the thing now in this game. Guess I'm joining my friend who was found dead in a ditch like 15 minutes ago. Larry tried to fuck the Pink Princess actress, but said the actress was ill, so all back to her spot, and now I don't know, I guess Larry found his true calling in life. Good on you, Larry, you love DILFs now. Look, man, this entire segment is actually irrelevant as fuck. This victim didn't matter, none of whatever happens here matter. Even Francisco was like, Larry, you dumb cunt, you wasted a lot of fucking time, you twat. Okay. Anyways, time to get rid of evidence that lost their value. Why am I even getting evidence that loses value in the first place? But the passion flowers, those have value beyond your comprehension. In fact, these passion flowers will save the entire case. You can have my word on that. This segment back in Babal is just a small intermission where we learn some dumb bullshit and that's it. Great use of my time. Back in Alabas, we're trying to figure out whatever bullshit happened in this garden. Edgeworth just does a cursory glance of this garden and he's like, okay guys, I solved the mystery. You can tell the writers didn't give a fuck writing this case. Back to Babal for talk options jump scare. A little thief segment. Let's talk about this because I actually have a big gripe with how they use Little Thief in this case. It projects shit that is based on one guy's testimony that for some reason we treat as fact. And even then, a lot of these environments don't really make a lot of sense. Where did these stacks of bills, come from? Why didn't the fire burn the rug underneath it? Why was there just some random wire inside a grandfather clock? I really don't understand why Palaiano Paladins is not considered a suspect at all in this entire case. Edgeworth literally says this man has no reason to lie because he said so. Excellent argument, approved. Also, they are not even being subtle about it. They're trying so hard to make Sheena the only suspect who could have done this. Not even gonna bother with this. Just get her out, bro. Get her out. Send her home. Final confrontation with Sheena. After we spent a bunch of evidence prompts arguing with Lang. Why the fuck does Lang get a bunch of evidence prompts but Sheena gets one testimony where I just object once? What the fuck is even going on here? Oh yeah, before I forget, they made a point about how these buildings are bilaterally symmetrical, whatever, or something. But one office is on the 5th floor and the other is on the 3rd floor. Do you know what symmetrical means? Because I don't think you do. Anyways, shit happens. Sheena is actually Ballisto Conlisto from the prehistoric age. Edgeworth says the stupidest fucking thing ever said by man. The game forgets a piece of evidence we just talked about mid-sentence. Oh, my game forgot the last 10 seconds happened. My favorite scene in the entire case happens. That's my goal right there. And that's it. What's next? Yeah, sure, let's bully the old guy, but not before we do more testimony arguing stuff. Okay, I don't get this line of logic during Francisca's testimony. Alba's not an immovable wall. What are they saying? Why does it matter if there were 2 or 4 passion flowers? There were always 2 flowers in that pot over there, lad, and those holes, I wanted to plant more. Boom, I killed it. I killed you, bro. That's not a good fucking point. As if it was a good point when we straight up accused him rashly, and he destroyed us with a simple question. proof question mark? If your entire argument crumbles at the mere ask of some evidence, then you might want to reconsider your career as a lawyer. All about not being a dumb idiot dude you had. Yamazaki just starts exposing all the flaws with Ace Attorney. Like boom, that's how I make my final culprit intimidating. His lack of case writing abilities is also exposed. Like, this game is my proof. If you knew this shit was dumb, why do it? Then Alba says some more base shit, and then the transformation, and then we have a final investigation where, stuff, happens. Then we have the final confrontation with Alba. Complete nothing burger. The problem with Tree Man, or rather the main problem many people have, is him dragging the case out. I wouldn't mind him doing that if he had interesting, relevant commentary to offer, and if there was a good reason for the case dragging out. But sadly, there isn't. He does not. All he does is proof, forp, me one. Every 5 seconds while getting destroyed by nothing arguments. The case is so bad that he's allowed to do this shit. He barely tries to even argue. All he does is demand proof. That's the only thing that makes him scary. But that turns into pure frustration real quick. Jesus Christ, the final testimony is ascertaining if this guy is like a real Steel Samurai fan. At the very least, it did provide an argument that, he went to the toilet but got lost on the way in. That's something, at least. I bet someone was looking at the watch and was like, holy shit, this has been going on for some time. Here's a Scooby-Doo reference. Congratulations, you beat the game. And also, here's the wrong answer because fuck you, bro. Fuck off, game. You did not earn this at all. And that's pretty much it. Ace Attorney Investigations could have been the best game in the series if only it was written better. Its core idea wasn't really allowed to shine as well as it could due to how ass the writing was. But, credit where credit is due, this game had some solid ideas, and was proof something special could have come from this. I'm not really disappointed in this game, I'm just rather sad that this game, instead of being great, it's simply a title with a lot of potential gone to waste. Or was it? Well, as it turns out, they made a sequel to this game, basically taking this idea and giving it another go. Sounds great. Hopefully the writing will be better. The case writing will be better. It will be more focused and expand, the ideas introduced in this game. So fingers crossed for some actual Ace Attorney Investigations is not the worst game ever, but it could have been a hell of a lot better. Maybe in a different universe it was the game it could have been, but sadly we don't live in that specific timeline. Oh well, this for me marks the big turning point. The point of no return, because Ace Attorney has gone downhill a lot starting with this entry. I know AI 2 is like a fan favorite, but what the hell do the fans actually want except infinite hours of gay sex between Phoenix and Miles? Let's hope the next game is tolerable. Spoiler alert, the next game is kinda ass. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.